are all here to see the star of the show, someone that is a very dear friend to me. It's funny being on this side because I'm used to hearing her present and give her introduction, but her name is Cathy Olieslaeger, and is just a phenomenal person. Is a cybersecurity expert and has founded the Triangle Net. And I'm going to read a little bit about the Triangle Net and what that is all about. So, again, the Triangle Net, she founded this with the vision of a world where cybersecurity is embedded in society's educational and organizational practices, where social equality and meritocracy are the norm, and where all misfits are given an opportunity to reach their full potential. The primary and most urgent objective of the Triangle Net is to fight cybercrime as a collective movement that addresses the talent gap. Again, I can't say enough great things about Cathy. I have so many, I have so many examples of her giving of herself for greater causes and both financially and time and just in so many areas. So I know you're going to get a lot about her journey in cybersecurity, and we're all going to take a lot from this. So I give to you the journey into cybersecurity, forging a path to a fulfilling future.
Thank you so much, Derek. And newsflash, just a little fun fact is that Derek helped me co-produce the podcast called Journey into Cybersecurity. So he helped me develop the podcast in and of itself, my website, my digital strategy for the Triangle Net. So he's been a fantastic support to me as a partner, but also as a friend. By the way, he's also the president of Twins and Technology that I support. And during my day job, I'm a customer success manager at Agio. Agio provides managed IT and cybersecurity services. And I am basically the account manager managing the client relations with our cybersecurity or some of our cybersecurity customers. And obviously, I'm a proud member of the ISSA of Raleigh, and I'm a proud mom of two boys, 16, 18-year-old boys, and a dog called Dawson, who you will hear for sure. So, but enough about me. This is not about me. This is a tribute. I am sharing with you lessons learned from the 10 people, the 10 podcast guests. That was a mouthful. Who share their journey into cybersecurity with me. And this is really meant to kind of share to people who are curious about cybersecurity and don't know really what it is, or may consider it as a new career path. And that can be any age, right? To kind of see who is that person, who does cybersecurity, because there are different roles that people can play in the space. And I also want to kind of demystify what it really is. Sometimes we have these connotations, images in our head when we say cybersecurity, but it isn't easy, but it is also not rocket science. It isn't a competition. And I will share with you some pathways how to get into cybersecurity and how to forge your own path. And finally, to summarize is that, it's not a destination. It's about the journey, and it isn't a job. So here we go. And just so you know, I can't see the chat. I will check in once in a while in the chat, but feel free to put your questions in there, and Derek will help us out, make sure you get these answered. So who this cybersecurity person? And here they are, the unusual suspects. The fun thing about the 10 people that I interviewed was that none of them dreamt of becoming a cybersecurity whatever. And here are some beautiful faces of people who thought they were not going to be in cybersecurity. So Gina thought she would be a shark researcher, and Derek himself wanted to be an NBA player. And then Frances, she wanted to be an astronaut. Other guests wanted to be archaeologists, writers, and that is John, who wants to be an archaeologist, and Galen wanted to be a writer. And then Devon, he wanted to be a comedian and a lawyer all at the same time. So I'm going to pause here for a second, and I'm going to ask the people in the audience, what did you want to be when you were young? What was your dream? Pilot, astronaut, physical therapist, NBA player too, animal vet, large animal vet, correction. There's the shark researcher. Lotto winner. Oh, that's a good one. Naval aviator, baseball player. I love it. This is so cool. And just fun fact, I personally wanted to be a Broadway dancer. And I'm from Belgium, but I wanted to be a Broadway dancer. So I knew New York City was in my future. I just didn't know it was not on Broadway. Anywho, so let me go back to presenting my slides. Let's go. So humble beginnings aren't bad. Sometimes people think that a certain goal, a certain vision is not feasible. In the United States, where you grow up sometimes determines the quality of your education. In the formative years, your zip code may determine how good those first years go. But it does not have to be that way. Where you are born or you go to school does not have to determine if you are successful. You determine if you are successful. When I interviewed these 10 amazing, I call them the cyber hero squad, there are so many things that came out, and it was their humanity and their values that were so amazing to me and that I so wanted to share and stress the importance of values in your education, in your development. They call them soft skills, but these are qualities that you can build as a person. And Rob Martin's number one advice was to be kind. Devon's recommendation was to keep plugging away, persist, be patient. Gina spoke a lot about the importance of empathy. And then Alan exemplified what humility really is. And, gratitude, collaboration, humility, curiosity, and that can-do mindset, that positive attitude and strong work ethics, it all shined through. It was all common to all of them. It was just amazing. Also, even though when they go into cybersecurity, that may not have been the first job that they ever ventured into. So Robert Martin was a prison guard. And then he became a salesperson for Wells Fargo. And then he developed courses at Lenovo. And by the way, he wanted to be a judge. And, Nia, she joined the Army right after 9/11 because, she wanted to be part of the defense and the protection of our country. And, her motto was to dream big. And then Alan Nobles, he didn't have a plan to be in cybersecurity or technology at all. He was in the Air Force as a medical technician and also an EMT. He also became a bodybuilder, and he himself wanted to be the best surfer on the East Coast. Cybersecurity isn't easy. If you don't like challenges, then this may not be the job for you because it's a challenging world. We're faced with cybercrime. Cybersecurity is a flip side of cybercrime. And so you're going to be challenged for sure. And change is the constant in all of it. Adaptability and a growth mindset is a must. So if you don't like change, you don't like to be kept on your toes, and you don't like to dance the salsa, run. Now, a big challenge is to just break into cybersecurity. And it's sad that we talk in those terms. We call it breaking into cybersecurity. But here's the thing. We keep saying there's a talent gap. And I keep questioning on our conversations during our podcast. Is there really a talent gap? Because look at the cybercrime world. There's that growth of sophistication and volume of attacks, and there does not seem to be a resource constraint within cybercrime, right? And quite honestly, if you do some research, some of the cyber criminals that get caught are 17-year-old kids, and they started playing games and just trying to level up against their opponent in a game, and then all of a sudden they were DDoSing each other so that they could knock each other off their internet and win the game. But that's kind of how it started. But so basically the point that I'm making is that we can't be using the words talent gap anymore, because there isn't one, in my humble opinion. We have to look at the problem in a different way. We have to see it in terms of a process. Perhaps we can call it the supply chain, right? We're having supply chain issues all over the world. Cybersecurity, supply chain issues exist too. And the real difference between cybercrime and cybersecurity is that there are way too many barriers of entry into cybersecurity. There are none into cybercrime. Cybersecurity is like a Spartan race. And we have to find a way. We have to look at it this way, and we have to kind of challenge ourselves. Those who are in a position of recruiting and hiring, those who are in a position of educating, and those are in a position of joining the cybersecurity workforce. Just know that there are barriers, and sometimes we just have to kind of address them, speak about them, try to eliminate them or circumvent them. But as an outcome, as the reason why, this is why there are so many people who have this imposter syndrome in cybersecurity, because they keep running into those barriers, those walls. And let me kind of break it down in terms of what kind of barriers there are. First of all, there's bias. There's bias in this entire supply chain, whether it's in the educational system or in the workplace. And it's not necessarily conscious, right? It's not necessarily intentional, but it's there. And there's way too much of it. There's just not enough women in cybersecurity. And, women look at risk differently. Women bring certain perspectives to the table that other people may not have. And there are different types of diversity gaps. It's not just a gender thing. I think there are many other kinds of people who would find cybersecurity a very fun and fulfilling place if they were given an opportunity to learn and work there. There are people with Asperger's, ADHD. I think that they would have a skill set that some people don't, that would benefit the entire cybersecurity community. Then there's the fact that, if you look at a job description for an entry level or any kind of security job, really, very often it's just unrealistic. It's as if they're looking for unicorns. I was at a healthcare conference the other day, and I kind of compared it to saying, a nurse applies for a nursing position. She gets the job description of a cardiologist. That's kind of what cybersecurity professionals are up against. And human resources, they don't understand cybersecurity and all of the different certifications and what those acronym soups mean, right? They don't know what's involved in getting to the point where you get a CISSP. They don't realize that it is very difficult to get job experience in cybersecurity. So you can't be expecting 5 years of job experience when you're offering an entry-level analyst role to someone. So we kind of have to look at that particular part of the process very much so. And let's be clear, perfection is impossible. There is a massive tool propagation. You can't expect a cybersecurity professional to know all the tools or all of the ways that you can secure any kind of particular environment. Every client that I have is different. There's not one customer that has the same architecture, the same infrastructure, the same design. It's ridiculous to expect anyone to know it all. So let's just put that at the door. Perfection is impossible. And also, someone was making the point that entry-level jobs are becoming more automated. So they're creating more tool sets, processes to automate what are entry-level tasks. So, okay, fine, but you still have to be willing to educate the new employees, your new hires, on how to use those tools. So there's somewhere that a mindset and a process that needs to be developed where you're not just asking for something, but you're willing to give something in return, where you provide the necessary onboarding and training to use the tools and services that the organization would be using. So again, this is not a problem that is owned solely by the applicants. This is something that we own together, and we have to look at it as a process gap, not as a talent gap. So, it can be extremely intimidating, scary, overwhelming to go knock on somebody's door and say, hey, I'm looking for my first cybersecurity job. And Galen had that problem. And she knocked on somebody's door nevertheless. And she kept knocking till somebody finally got her a job. But there was so much rejection that she faced. And very often did she not even get a response to her application. And there again, it would be so nice if you're going through the trouble of looking at someone's application, at least at the very least, reply to an applicant and let them know how they can learn a new skill or what it was that they can do to maybe come back for another time or a different kind of role. But the rejection could be a reason why people join cybercrime, because again, there's no barrier of entry. So we have to be mindful that rejection is us shooting ourselves in the foot. And at the end of the day, Galen's story is such a phenomenal one because she filled multiple different types of security analyst roles. She loves providing security awareness training, and she's recently been promoted in her current job. And note that she did start by attending the ISSA Raleigh networking events. She volunteered there as well. And it was through participating in those networking events that she knew that was the place she wanted to be. She felt like she belonged to that community. And today, she's just killing it. She's breaking cybersecurity glass. Devon Carter's story is so amazing. And he too ran into these barriers. And his very first job that he applied to 13 times. And he finally got a job interview. And he got the job because he listened to the person who shared, at least, and who was kind enough to share why he was inviting him so he would stop applying for the job. But why he wasn't getting the job. And the reason why is because he was too educated. Believe it or not, he was too educated for that job, at least in the mind of this hiring manager. And what Devon did was, well, let me just learn. I won't be, I won't, I'll stay humble. I'll just listen and I'll work hard. And that's how he got the job. He listened, but he did not give up. And today, he's breaking boundaries in cybersecurity. He's got many acronyms to his last name. And the most recent addition is his JD. Hello. So he became an attorney not so long ago. He passed the bar and he is a patent attorney. So congrats to Devon. Mark Fitzner also hustled his way into cybersecurity. He was homeschooled all the way till high school. And then, he lived in a rural area in South Carolina. But he went to the closest community college, just like his sister did, and did really well with his grades. And he was a little bit geeky already. And then he got a bachelor's in science while he was working full time, because he wouldn't be able to complete that. And that was at ECU that he went. And he has moved in from actually an audit role, security audit role, into a technical testing role. And he perfected that testing into red teaming. And now he's just keeping the bad guys out at many organizations. And he's an amazing person. Something that he also shared, I put that on the bottom of this prezo, is a comment about, how did Will Wheaton respond as a child when people were bullying him for being a nerd. And so I recommend that you kind of watch that response, because it was heartwarming. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to beat the system. There is a way to beat the system. So here's how. First of all, you apply. And I'm not saying this facetiously. There's actually a statistic that says that women only apply to a job if they feel that they qualify for at least like 90% of the job description. So basically, women are not going to be applying to most jobs that are being posted for cybersecurity, because, most of these job descriptions are just crazy, right? So apply. Nevertheless, don't take no for an answer. Keep knocking on those doors. Show how much you really want a job, and don't underestimate what you bring to the table in terms of your experience and your perspective, and highlight your unique strengths. And those can be outside of the skill or the knowledge that you may have gotten from a Security Plus, a CISSP, or things like that. There are other strengths that you can bring to the table that make you valuable. Your potential is limitless. There's a reason why you are at InfoSeCon. There's a reason why you are right here, right now, and you matter, and we need you in cybersecurity. So keep learning and know that there's nothing you cannot do. And you don't have to do it alone. Ask for help. This community is fantastic. I would not be where I am today without their support. So we've got your back. Now, let's demystify the idea that cybersecurity is rocket science, okay? You do not have to be a rocket scientist. You do not have to be a math wizard. You don't have to be a code guru or a tech genius to find a place in cybersecurity, to be fulfilled in cybersecurity. It's easy to get overwhelmed when you start learning about cybersecurity, when you start that educational process. I know it's very overwhelming because you're talking about so many different things. Cybersecurity has many domains and subdomains and things like that. So you kind of have to break it down. So I'm going to here to help you with that. And so here are some ways to take that best next step. But the key is that you start. So what are your superpowers is the question. So Simon Sinek, he has a great TED Talk that says, start with why. And Simon Sinek says somewhere else, I love him, hire for attitude. The rest can be taught. And here's what superpowers are needed in cybersecurity. We need strategic thinkers. We need mindful leaders, people who have a moral compass, good communicators, negotiators, risk managers, listeners, optimists, mentors, analytical minds, connectors of the dots, pattern detectors, smooth operators of cool widgets, creativity, coachability, challenge lovers, eternal learners, and community builders. And guess what? These are descriptions of the 10 people that I interviewed. And we need more of them. Devon Carter really talks a lot about growth mindset. Derek talked about the can-do attitude. Just believing that you can do it is the first step to really get you started into cybersecurity. So here are some tools to kind of start that path, draw a plan up. CyberSeek. So I share a lot of URLs on this prezo, and you should be getting the prezo after this chat. So CyberSeek has a cool heat map that shows you all of the actual demand for cybersecurity professionals. It's so cool. And you'll see, and this was actually mentioned on the keynote this afternoon, North Carolina is one of the top 7 states with the highest amount of job openings in cybersecurity. So this map specifically said over 17,000 job openings listed in March of 2021. And this tool kind of shows you, the salaries, the credentials, and skill sets needed per role. So check it out. This also shows you how you can build a path, how you can start with in the entry-level column with a particular type of role, and how you can evolve to a mid-level and advanced role in cybersecurity. So kind of shares those data points, kind of a cool thing. And then you have different domains as well. And then the CISA, which has so many different resources, also has a similar cyber career pathway tool. Very interactive. So keep checking that out as well. And I built a website at trianglenet.com. Please don't judge me. I'm not much of a coder, but it's got a lot of learning resources and everything I could find on trainings and certifications and degrees and scholarships, all of that jazz, whether they're, the YouTube presentations of Mike Myers or the CompTIA Security Plus videos by Mike Chappell, or online college degrees or in-person university degrees. Everything soup to nuts is kind of documented there. So this is why so many people get very confused and overwhelmed and where do we start? But you'll see kind of at the bottom is the entry level, and then you kind of move up, and then you have vertically the different domains. So you have security management, architecture, analysis, defensive ops, offensive ops, security engineering, and then you have subdomains. And obviously this will keep evolving. We talked this morning about how supply chains operate, right? And how there's that shared risk and how things keep being transferred to one another, and how cloud is evolving and machine learning and blockchain and all of that jazz. So that complexity is only going to increase the curriculum, basically, and the curriculum will evolve as you see. But you'll see at the bottom, the entry level, you see how Security Plus kind of crosses the multiple domains. So it's a good foundational thing to learn. And then kind of in the middle, you see that green bar where scripting language, programming, things like Python are important. And just a little plug is that Twins in Technology teaches kids how to code between the grades of 3rd and 7th grade. So it's kind of cool how we're trying to get STEM education to children earlier, again, to kind of address the diversity gap as well. So that's a really cool tool as well. And this is just an eyesore of a chart, but it's to kind of show that there is